In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I greet you in the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the MGT and GCC presents to you ID9's Instagram Live series. I'm Sister Naya, and today I will be hosting alongside one of my beautiful sisters who just joined us, Sister Anura Muhammad. Here she is. Let me add her. All praise is due to Allah. I am happy to be back since it has been a long time since our last live. Assalamu alaikum, Anura.
Alaikum salam, beloveds. As Naya just mentioned, my name is Sister Nora. I'm 23 years old, and I'm excited for this. It's good to see you. It's been a long time.
It is good to see you, and it has been quite some time. But inshallah, we will be going live monthly again. And I am excited tonight because our guest today is a beautiful, powerful, strong sister soldier, student in the ministry class, my dear sister, Tayyara Muhammad. Let me add her in here. Please welcome Sister Tayyara Muhammad. And when she gets up here, she's going to tell us a little bit more about herself. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
No.
No?
Oh, yes. I hear you now. No, I can't. Okay, maybe. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sister Tayyara from Chicago. I was born and raised in the nation. I'm 25 years old. I am a student. I'm studying linguistics and world language. I am a student in the ministry class, and I'm also very honored to be joining you all today, and I really appreciate and am grateful for the invitation.
Yes, ma'am. And it is such a pleasure to have you on. And I must say, it is also an honor to interview you. And we pray that you are well.
Thank you. Same to you.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and answer the first question, which is, what does it mean to you to accept your own and be yourself?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. A very deep question, depending on how you look at it. But accepting your own and being yourself is a mantra that we hear a lot in life. You know, whether we've heard it in many different ways. You know, I'm sure you've grown up hearing phrases like, be yourself, everyone else is already taken, or, you know, you were born an original, don't die a copy, or something of that nature. But that specific phrasing, accept your own and be yourself, is what I grew up hearing a lot in the nation. And even though it sounds so simple, it really is a very layered sentence, you know, and we can talk about it in how accepting your own and being yourself is about a sense of community and knowing the community that you belong to and taking ownership of that community and, you know, circulating the wealth that is in that community and things of that nature. But I don't want to focus on that part more so than thinking about accepting your own on a personal level, because accepting your own is about accepting who you are as an individual, you know, you are as a whole, meaning the people that you identify with. And it is about discovering where you belong and finding your purpose. Once someone begins to apply this to all aspects of their life personally, I feel that they would be able to reach a level of happiness and freedom that most of us didn't even know was attainable. And as I said before, accepting your own is about discovering yourself and who you are. And the only way to do that is to realize that we aren't here on our own accord. You know, sometimes it's just there. I've always had a love, a passion, and talent when it comes to music. And I remember going to auditions or talking about music as a child, and someone would always ask, when did you realize you love music? And I would always say, as long as I could remember. I couldn't even remember when the love started. It was just always there. And I'm sure, Naya, you know, you could understand, you probably always had a knack for art or, you know, building things, and you didn't put that there yourself. It was just something that came naturally because, you know, when we were created in the womb of our mother, God specifically crafted us with these qualities.
That's
That
right.
we use them, we would reap benefits, and it was in fulfilling our purpose. So God gives us the passion, the talent, but it is our job as his children to use his talents to reflect his majesty, his power, his beneficence. And in doing that, we must, you know, build that connection to God, because at the end of the day, you can't say you know who you are if you don't know and you're not connected to your origin, if you don't know where you came from, you know? So for me, accepting your own is knowing who you are and knowing where you belong and being connected to the maker, the creator, and living in the purpose in which he has given you, in whichever way that may be.
Wow, all praises to Allah. That was really a beautiful answer. And someone like myself, I also grew up hearing the phrase, accept your own and be yourself all of my life. But you're right, it's not until you have a proper understanding, it's not unless you have a connection with the Creator that you're able to understand and reach that certain happiness and freedom, like you said. So, all praises to Allah. And
So,
then to our next question, which is, how does us accepting our own and being ourselves tie into being a Muslim woman, specifically in MGT?
oh, well, I would say being an MGT is directly connected to accepting your own and being yourself. If you look in nature, you will see that everything in nature has accepted what it is that God created it to be. You know, if you look in nature, you don't see an elephant trying to move or be a gazelle, or see a monkey trying to emulate or get along with a tiger. And I know that probably sounds crazy, but I'm getting somewhere with this. But, you know, my point is that they act within their nature. And every creature on earth has a purpose. And if creatures aren't acting within their purpose, you know, they must be acting other than themselves. And then that then causes an imbalance in nature. So you look at a pride of lions. You see the lioness fulfills her duty to her family. And this isn't to compare us as MGT to animals, but it's just to show that everything in nature lives in accordance with their purpose. And being a Muslim woman, specifically at MGT, teaches you the very basis of what it means in accordance with in our purpose, you know. So being an MGT really teaches you to love yourself, because you can't properly love others until you learn to love yourself. And I mean, MGT, yes, we're taught how to cook, we're taught how to clean, we're taught how to sew, and so forth. But those things aren't for a man. And I know a lot of us now, if we hear something like that, we almost get offended, because women of today, we think that that's diminishing our value. And we think that it means we're being subservient to men. But personally, what being an MGT has taught me is, one, we aren't man's woman. So those things that we are taught is not solely for a man, you know? I mean, we cook, yes, but even if we don't have a man in our lives, we still cook for ourselves. You know, if we had children, I'm gonna cook for them. You know, we learned the science of food as MGT. We literally learned the compositional makeup of food and ingredients, and then determine what complements each other the best, what's best for our health and for our bodies. So, I mean, we learn these things, whether it's cooking or whatever it is. And that's just to say the barest of minimum of things. But we do these things because we are taught to love ourselves. And in order to love self, we have to accept ourselves. And then we learn where we belong. You know, the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan said, home is base, but it's not our place. So these things that I'm naming is what I would like to call fundamentals, if that makes sense. Actually, I've had a recent obsession with like plants and, home plants and stuff like that. And I've been studying how to take care of them and the different temperaments and all the different species and things like that of plants. But there are certain things that, no matter how different they are, that is universal for these plants to grow. And that is water, sunlight, and the space to grow. And these are the fundamentals that a plant needs in order to grow. So it's the same for us. These are certain fundamentals that we need in order to grow. And those fundamentals help us to identify who we are. So the question then becomes, what happens if we stop the fundamentals? We lose sight of who we are. So then in any environment, we can be swayed. We can feel uncomfortable in our own skin, and we could find ourselves being everywhere, doing everything, and getting further away from our purpose. If I lack the knowledge of who I am, I'd find myself trying to fit in places I'm really not even made to fit in, and wonder why it's so hard, wondering why I'm not happy when it's because I'm not being myself. So actually, that just made me think about a just short side story. When I was in middle school, I actually went to a public school, and there's pros and cons. I thought I was living my best life with all my friends, white, Asian, black, didn't matter. But then into my 5th or 6th grade year, I remember, but I was going into that year, and I remember my mother told me that I had to attend Muhammad University of Islam. And don't judge me, okay? I remember like crying because I didn't want to go to MUI. I was so mad. I felt like she was taking away my freedom because now I have to wear a uniform and now I have to drill. And I was just dreading it. But the very first day that I attended MUI, I didn't even know that I felt suffocated at my public school until I got there. I didn't even realize, I literally felt like I could breathe for the first time when I got there. I was able to be myself, learn about myself, to be around others who were like me. I was able to participate in our pledge, because in public school, you have to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. And I wasn't pledging allegiance to no American flag. And, my white classmates would get mad, try to get me in trouble. But honestly, I didn't realize I was killing myself trying to be like those at my public school whom I never truly fit in with. I just knew how to adapt. So I was doing things that honestly isolated me because it was against who I was. And my family will tell you, I had so many issues. I would have straight A's, and we'd have a list where you could see the honor roll for all the students, for the whole school to see. And just because my name was Muhammad, they would never put my name on the list. And I remember I'd go home every time crying, like, Ma, I promise I got straight A's, but they would never acknowledge me just because of that. So there was so much I didn't know until I got to Muhammad University. I was able to learn about our true history when I got there, and I truly fell in love with Islam and our nation. So I say all that to say, once you accept your own, you come into yourself and you become knowledgeable about who you are, and it gives you the freedom to truly be yourself.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for sharing that little story. Because I went to public school too. I was a little different, and I had my group of friends that made me feel like I belonged, but it wasn't the whole school type of thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I joined the Nation of Islam and joined the MGT classes and started talking to the sisters and realizing that I'm not the only one that's kind of different like me. I'm not the only one who's a little off. Not off, but I'm not the only one who is unique.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel like I belonged. So again, thank you for sharing that. And that leads me to my next question, or the next question, which is, how does self-acceptance aid you in your ministry?
Well, first, I'd like to say that I'm a student. Definitely learning and growing within the ministry. However, self acceptance has aided me tremendously in the ministry because it helped me to realize when I was running away from God. You know, as I mentioned before, music was my first love. I love to use my voice in hopes that the notes that I was hitting, you know, reached the hearts of the people and they felt what I was singing. But there are some things that are out of our control and is completely in the hands of God. And in retrospect, I may not be singing in the ministry, but I am able to use my voice and speak the word that ends up reaching the hearts of the people that are listening. And, you know, I'm sure there are many of us out there who are unknowingly or knowingly sleeping on a talent or passion or gift that we didn't put into ourselves, but it was something that comes naturally to us. Sometimes we don't use the tools God has given us because we get so focused on how we feel personally and ignore the fact that there was a higher power that created you for a divine purpose, you know? So if I had stayed solely focused on music, I would have never known that the same passion that feeds my love for music is the same passion that feeds my love for the word. And, you know, once you recognize that it was God's doing, it helps you take self out of the picture. It helps remove the ego and allows you to let God work through you. You know, sometimes we may get praised for the things we do, but self-acceptance is a reminder of who we belong to. Therefore, you know I didn't do any of this on my own volition, but it was because of God that those words were able to touch the people. So all praise goes to the one who created me.
All praise is due to Allah. I love how you answered that. I really love that because, like you said, Allah has blessed us with tools, and we must remove the self because everything good is from Allah God. We couldn't be doing anything amazing, anything praiseworthy if it were not for God. So praise be to Allah. Two more questions for you.
Okay.
And this one is for those of us who are striving to accept our own and be ourselves, but don't really know how yet, what advice would you give us so that we can work towards the end goal, and specifically towards women in their 20s?
Okay. Well, my first piece of advice, honestly, would be to not set an end goal. And I say that because a lot of times we set these goals or these final steps to something when in reality, that's putting a cap on what God has in store for you. And I'm not saying that to say we shouldn't have goals or aspirations because we should. But, you know, you have to remember that we plan and allow plans. So always, you know, surrender yourself to the spirit of God and move in the direction He's moving you. Because we can find ourselves running away from what God has for us because we're so focused on our little vision when He has so much more in store for you. And, you know, you will feel the spirit and know when it comes from God because you won't have to question it too much. But that takes building a relationship with God. You know, that takes studying and taking time to learn about God, which is really learning about yourself. And my second piece of advice would be to surround yourself with like-minded people. You know, surround yourself with those that are also striving to accept their own and be their selves and be the best version of their self because it helps to keep you motivated. And lastly, I would say understand that no one else has the answers for how you should live your life. That is between you and God. People can aid and advise you, but don't let anyone deter you from what you feel is right within your spirit because God has a purpose for each and every one of us. You know, He doesn't create anything meaningless. He doesn't create meaningless things. So if you ever wonder or worry about feeling like you don't have a purpose, know that to God you do. there's no rush on discovering that purpose. So I would say also be patient with yourself, because again, those end goals that you create give you this timeline and this time frame that if you don't meet that deadline, all of a sudden you're a failure. But it's like, hold up, you know,
Right.
Allah allowed you to wake up another day. You have another chance to make that, to work towards that. But we can only do that when we are always and constantly connected to the source, because motivation comes and goes. You know, that is a very, that's
Yeah.
an, it's whimsical, but what never leaves is Allah. What never leaves you is his love for you. So I would say use that and feed on that. I don't care if you're in your mid 20s, you 16, you 30, God is always there. So be patient with yourself. That's what I would say.
No, you're absolutely right. And I love how you tied all of your answers in with God. I don't think I could have answered that any better. And I think it was really important for you to tie all of the answers in with God, because at the end of the day, none of us are anything without God. And sometimes we do ask other people, you know, what should I do with myself? What should I do in my future? Like, they don't have the answer, but Allah is the all knowing.
Yep.
He has the future planned out. But if we turn ourselves to Allah and submit ourselves to Allah, He will be able to answer all of our questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
And I am honestly so happy that you said that. You know, not to have an end goal in mind, because as someone who is in their early 20 somethings, that is literally the biggest lesson that I've learned since being a young adult. Like, literally letting go and letting God has become so real, because you really learn that. Just keep living. So, unfortunately, this is our last question for you for tonight. And the question is, why is it so important for young girls to focus on accepting who they are so that they will eventually grow into becoming themselves?
Why is it so important? Focusing on accepting your own is really the most important thing for a young woman to do right now, because it is the beginning of a road to learning the knowledge of who you are. And once you discover who you are and whose you are, you will understand that the sky isn't even the limit for you. You know, it goes beyond that. For decades, we, specifically Black women, women in general, but specifically Black women, have lived in a society where we are constantly torn down, constantly being torn down and taught that we are inferior or not good enough. And that rhetoric has been damaging generations after generations. And it is really to keep us away from the God that is here to teach us that our Black skin is the best, to teach us that we are the most beautiful, to teach us that we are supreme, to teach us that, as I said, the sky isn't the limit, you know? And once you begin to come into that truth, you begin that road and you can begin to grow in the path that God has for you. You'll be able to be confident and secure in who you are. So no matter what the arena is, you can stand firm in who you are and knowing who you belong to. Because back to the story I gave about middle school, you know, yes, I was a Muslim, but you know, you go to the mosque when you're a child and you either go upstairs, talk to your friends, or you downstairs. So even though it's hitting my subconscious, I wasn't in my MGT class to really identify and learn about myself. But if I had been back then, I would have been a lot more secure in understanding that I'm not going to fit in with them, but that's okay because I'm secure in who I am, you know? So no matter what arena, what field you enter, you can always be yourself.
Praise be to Allah. I'm just so full of the spirit that I've been swirling around in my chair over here. I hope I'm distracting. But no, have all been beautiful, beautiful answers. And I love how relatable your answers were as well. Because I know a lot of us have gone to public school and then transferred to MUI, and we've had our own thoughts. We've all had our own experiences. However, the way that you answered the question tonight, I think was relatable to a lot of people. And I appreciate that. I love your answers. I think they're beautiful. I'd love to have you for a part 2 on the ID Night Live.
Oh,
Work that out.
yeah.
But thank you so very much for joining us this evening, Sister Tyra. May Allah continue to bless you and guide you. And in case you all have not seen, we are matching. I think our very
We are.
best. But all praises due to Allah. The time has come for us to end this live. But praise be to Allah. Sister Nora, did you have anything to share?
I just want to say that I love Sister Tyra so much, and I always have, and always will. And I'm really excited to see what you continue to do with our nation and with your ministry. And I just pray that Allah continues to bless you. And thank you again for joining us and being our very first special guest.
Yay. Praise
Third special guest.
Third,
Our third special guest, because this is we've had you as a special guest.
special. I'll take it. Thank you so much for inviting me. I truly, truly enjoy being on this live. I've never been on Instagram Live before. This is my first time. So,
Really?
yeah, it is. But I really,
oh,
I love what I Deny is, what it represents. So, anytime you all want to call on me to be here to help, I would love to. I truly enjoy everything that you all are doing. I pray Allah continues to bless you all as well. And just thank you. Thank you so much.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. We are honored to be sisters alongside you. And really fast, before we go, can we smile for a picture? Amira's going to capture a photo for us. We're all over here trying to get ready. Okay.
Wait, where am I looking?
Amira, did you get it?
hey.
Okay, let's pray she got it.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all for joining our live. I pray you enjoyed it. And it will be posted on our Instagram. So if you're only just now getting on, you can always go back and watch it. Thank you. We greet you again. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh my God.
Have a beautiful night.